Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. With that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary. Make sure to click the link below and go check them out. I guarantee you're going to like it. And make sure to use code JAMBOX for 20% off and a free gift. With that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Let's get it, everybody. It's Aaron Westside.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do, give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Yeah, again, Aaron Westside. I come from Portland, Oregon, right in the heart of Northeast. Hip hop artist. That's pretty much it. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah. And what got you into music initially?
I grew up in music, so it's always been within me. Just finally became something that I wanted to take serious, and then just got into it and found out that I was pretty good at it. So,
are any of your are your parents or anybody in your family musicians or musical at all, or just big appreciators?
Both, honestly. My mom, she was a dancer, singer.
Oh, cool.
Played instruments as well. And then my dad, he was a musician, sung. He played bass, played drums, and then sang.
Okay. You were basically destined for this at a certain point. It was going to happen either way.
Yeah, I got a lot of game from my dad just musically, and he just taught me a lot. Growing up and just watching him perform and just how he interacted with people and stuff. And then my mom as well, being a dancer. You got to have a little bit of crowd control when
Yeah, exactly.
So a lot of stuff. Just watching him growing up, it just was infused in my head. So a lot of it I just learned by watching, and then the conversations that me and my dad would have sometimes, just kind of just help fine tune a lot of those things. And then, out came me. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Do you play any instruments?
I used to. I took up after my dad playing the drums.
Okay.
That kind of faded out a little bit.
It's tough to do if you don't live in a space where you can do drums all the time. Yeah. It's a hard instrument to keep going once you lose that opportunity. But I think it's drums at least are one of those instruments where it's you never 100% lose it, and it definitely once you learn the drums, it incorporates into every thing that you could do musically.
Nah, for sure. Yeah. I definitely could say there's been times where my family would try to get me back into it because of church or whatever they want me to do. And I'm just I don't know if I want to do that no more. But yeah, it's definitely something I found myself, if I'm at a homie's house or something, I'll just hop up on their drums. It's really like riding a bike. Like you said, you don't really forget that type of stuff. It's just basically how good you do it in a way,
The drums are nice because they're a muscle instrument. Guitar and stuff, you have to remember shapes and it's all in the hand dexterity. But drums are once you know rhythm. It's it's something that you feel so deep inside of you. And even with what you do now, a lot of it exists within the realm of rhythm. So you are playing with the rules of rhythm in general, even if you're not playing at a drum set. So that makes sense. But it's cool that you at least got that foundation, because that is, I'm a firm believer that drums are the first instrument everybody should learn, because then it teaches you timing and pacing and things like that. It makes everything else more understandable once you know the rules for it. Yeah.
And I can definitely say there's a lot of lessons that I was taught, even just within, my dad talking about just drums, period, and how it was so dope how he would apply what he takes from the drums and apply it to life and things like that. And it's just it's just dope philosophy that he brought to the table just with that, and how much the instrument and the music can like speak to you, in a way. But yeah, it's really dope. And even on my mom's side, just how they use instruments to push out a message, or music is powerful. Like, music is something that can make you get up and dance, make you sad, make you happy, so it's just dope to see how they incorporated the sounds and the tones and the melodies and things like that to make you feel a certain way, or to tell a story, like I said. So it was just dope, just always just watching that, because they're doing something that they have a passion for and things like that. And they just want to just share that with people.
Yeah,
that's all it really was, is just sharing that passion with people. So
that, and it's cool that like your dad was a musician and your mom was like a performing music, like she was performative with music. She did dancing and singing and things like that. So you kind of had this interesting duality where you got to see kind of both sides, both the physical and the audible side of music. And then like the fact that they were so open and willing to communicate that directly to you, that's not something everybody gets. So that's like a really powerful experience to have from, birth, pretty much. Like that's something that, like, you were, like I said, you're kind of basically destined to have done music to some capacity. It's cool to see that you're doing it now.
It's funny because they actually met because of music. Like they were in the same band at the time, so
cool. They
were traveling together and stuff like that, and that's how they met, and then from then came me. It's just the culture, it's just everything. I come from an African background. My mom is from Ghana, West Africa, so there's a lot of culture there. My dad comes from, his family originates from Arkansas. They were part of that big migration to the West and stuff. So there's culture there. It's just a lot that I was able to get within me. So
yeah, definitely. Well, I'm sure we could dig into more of their story for a while, but let's keep moving on and hear some more about you. And actually, these next two questions, these are ones that we check in with everybody early on, just to kind of keep continuity. This first one is one we ask early, it's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Oh, first album, I would probably say Crenshaw.
Okay.
By Nipsey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nipsey being my GOAT, my greatest of all time. And also someone who I take a lot of inspiration from. So that's definitely my first one that I can say I purchased.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Actually, funny enough, the last guest that was on the show also mentioned Nipsey as one of their favorite. I mean, for obvious reasons.
That's that guy.
Yeah. Hell yeah. And then what was one of the first live shows you ever went to? That was like one you wanted to go to? Because I assume your parents probably took you to a bunch. But like, what was the first one where like you saw the show was happening, you got the tickets and you went to it?
For sure. Black.
Okay.
Yeah, he's one of my like favorite, neo-soulish, R&B type of artists. My sister, what was it, 2017? My sister was like, oh, I'm gonna get you some concert tickets for your birthday and stuff, and we went to go see him, and I had a blast.
Damn, yeah, I bet that was an amazing show.
Yeah, he's dope.
Was he performing with anybody else, or was it just him on the bill?
No, it was just, if I remember, it was just him. I think some local artists was opening up for him, but it was just him for his main performance and stuff.
Yeah.
But he was performing a lot of his albums from that Free Black album and stuff, and it was. I had fun.
Damn, yeah, I bet that was an amazing show.
Yeah, he's dope.
I always I had known of him for a while, but the first time I like really had to like sit down with what he did a song with during quarantine. The Gorillaz did this thing called Song Machine, and they had a song with him and Elton John.
That is it,
and it just like. It just blew my mind. I was like, how, like, only the Gorillaz could put those two artists together. Yeah. But it's such a cool song. And so, like, that made me, like, really have to go back and, like, dive all of his music. And just super incredible artist.
No, he's dope for sure. He's real versatile, too. And that's something that I really admire, is that he's not just, singing your ear off. Sometimes he might throw some bars in there,
Yeah.
So he's dope, and I just like his vibe. So.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, I mean, I'm low-key jealous. I bet that was an amazing show to go to.
Yeah, it was cool.
And then before we get into you in the present day, And I mean, this might be a difficult question because, you know, you have had such an extensive musical experience, but do you have like a defining moment where you wanted to take music more seriously, or like at least focus on what you're doing more seriously?
Oh, absolutely. Growing up, fun fact, I was an athlete, and being an athlete, playing football, hooping, and running track, those are really my main things that I wanted to do. So, you know, it was always this wrestle with sports and music.
Yeah.
But for majority of my life, it was the sports that I was taking, you know, more serious than the music. So for a while, the music was in the back burner of my life. And then as I gotten older and, you know, kind of going through that phase of like what I wanted to do in the future and stuff, I'm like, yeah, I want to play football. I want to take this football thing as far as I can, potentially go, you know, professional, whatever I need to do and stuff. And I was that kid that's like, it's football or nothing, football or nothing, football or nothing. And so yeah, fast forward, I go through college and stuff, and, you know, careers coming to an end pretty much. And being real with myself, I'm like, okay, maybe professionalism with football is probably not going to happen just because of the circumstances that I've had. And then I stopped playing, and then it's like that made a lot of room for music to come back to my life. Music has always been there, no matter how much I've turned my back on it or whatever. So I got back into it, and I feel like that was really the time for me to do so, just because of what I've experienced and how much growth that I had to go through to, you know, to eventually get back into it and stuff. And then, yeah, it just felt like the right timing. You know, I'm a man of faith, so I really feel like that was something that, you know, had to happen for me in order for me to, you know, get back into what I feel like what is my real calling and stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much.
Damn, that's really powerful.
I appreciate that.
And actually, I have spoken to a few people now where they have lines that intersect for athletics and music in particular. And we're going to kind of segue away from the general questions for a moment. I'd love to ask you, what are some of the similarities you've seen between like your disciplines in sports and your disciplines in music?
I would definitely say humbleness. I think the humbleness plays a big role because, not to toot my own horn, but I was a pretty good athlete, and even in high school, college, I was, you know, one of the top athletes in my school, in the region, things like that. And then as far as music, you know, you're pretty much, unless you're in a band, you're the only one standing. You know, people are going to look directly at you and stuff. And a lot of the times it's real easy to, you know, get big headed sometimes, you know, throw the humility out the window, throw the humbleness out the window. And then if you want to compare that to sports, it's like, you know, when you're scoring that dope ass touchdown or make that catch or whatever, it's like it's easy to, you know, take that and run with it, if you will.
Yeah.
And I just think when success comes, whether it's sports or in music, it's real important to stay grounded and just continue to just be a down to earth person, because it's real easy to think of yourself above when good things are happening in your life and stuff. And I always try to, you know, hold on to that and grasp that, you know, as success comes or opportunities come. So that's kind of how I look at it, for real.
Oh yeah. No, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's a really wise insight.
Appreciate that.
But now let's go ahead and let's get on into you in the present day. And we're going to get a super easy one out of the way. How'd you pick the name?
I like this question a lot. So Aaron is my middle name, my actual my middle name. So Westside just comes from, you know, Ghana's in the west coast of Africa, and then Portland, obviously, you know, is within the west coast of America. So that's just my way of kind of combining those two worlds, for real. So yeah, Aaron Westside, that's where it all comes from. My middle name, I picked that because, you know, my middle name doesn't really get much love. You know, people don't call me by my middle name. So I was just like, oh, I'm gonna just show my middle name some love. So,
and it's still like attached to you, which is really cool. Absolutely, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and it's I do this bit where I just break down names, and it's cool because, I mean, Aaron, super easy name to spell. It's not like complicated. It's not like you added like a 4 instead of an A or anything like that. And Westside is another super easy word to remember. And it's cool because it's already had correlation from the coast, but also it's now hearing that it has an even bigger correlation to another like place attached to you that gives it this extra layer. But like just aesthetically, like it's a good name. Like the double A in Aaron is like an easy one to play along with for like aesthetics, and Westside is just, you know, strong all on its own. So as far as like name design goes, it's actually a super solid choice, and it's easy to remember. I can't stress enough how important it is to have a name that people can remember the next day when they're like, wait, who was performing again? They're not going to be like, oh, was it Aaron like west, upper, east, north side? Like, no, like Aaron Westside. So it's a super solid name, and it's cool that you have so much thought into it as well.
Appreciate that. Yeah. I always make sure that I'm real thoughtful and intentional with things. And it took a while to come up with that name, even though it was basically right in front of me, metaphorically speaking.
Did you have any other ones that were before that you would share with here?
Oh shit. I had stuff like my first ever name that I thought of, I think was Westside Youngster. So it was still kind of like within the realm, but then I'm thinking like, if I want to make the music that I want to make, Westside Youngster doesn't.
Yeah, you're gonna grow out of it.
You know,
like little Bow Wow thing.
Yeah, real. And also it's just, you know, I don't want people to think that I come from or I am within the life of, you know, the streets and things like that, because people can take certain things the wrong way and stuff. And although I may have grown up in that environment, that's not, you know, who I am and the type of music that I want to make. So I very quickly scratched that idea. But I really did like the West Side, you know, of it because of what it means and things like that. And then out of nowhere, I was just like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna just show love to my middle name, and then thus came the name. So
there it is. Hell yeah. Well, I definitely dig that for sure.
Appreciate it.
Now let's go ahead and let's talk about your writing style. And we're going to break it up into chunks, but we're going to start right at the beginning. So when you get inspired, you're ready to make a track. What are some of the things you do to get one started?
Yeah. I search for beats. I've gained relationships with a lot of producers who kind of fit my style and sound. So I search for beats. I listen to them, just basically just let the beat kind of speak to me. Kind of what we were talking about earlier, just with the music and stuff, kind of let it speak to me and stuff, and let the beat kind of do a lot of the inspiring, if you will. And then from there, I kind of, you know, just might hum some cadences, might mumble some cadences. And then from there, then that's when I'll start actually, you know, writing out the lines and things like that, and kind of articulating what I'm feeling and stuff. I like writing. You know, in school, I've always loved writing, and that's also kind of my way of kind of implementing that into my music, is just writing and stuff. I've never freestyled a track. Everything was always written, because that's how much I like writing. Everything is written. So yeah, once I get to writing and I feel like everything is, you know, where I want it to be, then that's when I go record it. So it's a process to it. Sometimes it can take hour, 2 hours. Sometimes it can take up to a couple days, maybe even a couple weeks. It kind of just depends. But I always want to make sure that I put my all, you know, into it and not rush things, and really want to put out the best product that I can possibly do at this stage in my career. So I care a lot about it.
Yeah, I love that. And then when you get a track finished writing, and it doesn't have to be like recorded per se or put out per se, but once you have a track fully finished writing and you're ready to like practice it and things like that, how long does it usually take you to get comfortable to the point where you can perform it?
Oh, that's a good one. Before I record, even I like to just rap it to myself, rehearse it, just kind of get a visual of what it might sound like when it's done. So it gets infused into my head even before I go in and record things. But all in all, though, I want to make sure that I'm satisfied with it. I might, you know, again, just rap it to myself, just as much as I can, listen to the beat as much as I can, just to really feel it, just to, you know, have it stick, you know, stick to me pretty much.
Yeah.
And then just after I record it, I'll listen to, even if it's just the rough drafts, raw vocals, just listen to it, get a feel for it, just again, just have it stick to me, and if I don't like it, then I'll make some changes and just want it to be, better than what I felt like it could have been and stuff. So yeah, but all in all, it's pretty easy to remember some of my songs.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially if you're writing it down, like, there's a mnemonic of, if you want to remember something quicker, writing it will help you kind of infuse it. So I imagine that. And also, it sounds like by your approach alone that you're basically ready to perform before you go and record it even. So
damn near,
yeah. So you like, almost like your recording is your first performance. And that's kind of, that's a cool, I imagine you don't spend a lot of money on studio time in exchange for being prepared all the time. So that's kind of a cool approach for sure.
Yeah, and that's also another thing too, just getting so efficient with it to where it's like I can knock out 2 to 3 songs.
In one session.
So I've came a long way with that for sure.
Oh yeah. And that would definitely explain, because you've, in the last like pretty much a year's worth of time, so like not calendar wise, but I mean since early and mid 2023 to now, you've already put out like 3 albums. Yeah. Or 4, I think, because you got 2 this year and then 2 last year, with one being a re-release, the Trilux edition. Yeah. Which I thought that was fun. Also, I appreciate the recurrence of the word trill throughout a lot of your stuff. I'm a big fan of themes in general. So anytime I see something like that, I'm like, yeah, good callbacks. But I mean, like, you've got a lot of stuff out there and your sound is very consistent. Like it's very easy to know when it's an Aaron Westside track. You know what I mean? Like, you can hear it and be like, I know it's him for sure.
I like that.
And I mean, your most recent album, Elevation Statements with John G, super solid. Super solid. That. Like, and I mean, that just came out this month, or I guess last month now.
Yeah.
We're in May now, but like, it's only about a month old.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's super solid album.
Appreciate that.
How did you and John G get connected?
Yeah, shout out to my guy John G. So I just hit him up one day and was just like, hey, I've been a fan of your production for a long time, and basically just shot a blank in the dark and was just shot him a message, just just showing him my gratitude, because he contributed to a lot of music, at least for me growing up too, because a lot of my other favorite artists, he produced on and things like that. So I was just letting him know, like, yeah, I've supported your production for a long time, and he just messaged me back and was just like, bro, I fuck with your music. Your music is dope. Like, we have a lot of the same, taste and things like that. And from there, just a genuine relationship was born. And, we had conversations about faith, music, life. So it's at this point, it's beyond the music.
Yeah.
And, and we just thought, like, hey, we should just fuck it, let's do something together. And then Elevation Statements was born. So yeah.
Oh yeah. No, like I said, it's a super solid album.
Appreciate that.
But I also do this bit where I pick out a track that I like, like just through listen, because I listen to a fair amount of your music. And I do this bit where I pick out like one track that I like to point out. But before I say the track, I also just have to point out Cruise Tunes list.
Yeah.
I loved pretty much every beat on that album. I mean, like I said, you're stellar all the way around. Like you clearly have your style locked in, but all of them had this like throwback feel, this almost G-funk feel. Yeah. Like it didn't feel dated. Like it felt like they were still here. And I mean, like I said, you were dialed and locked in and all that, but like the beats for that whole album were just like, the whole time it was just a vibe. Yeah. So I had to point that out, but in the spirit of picking a track, I had to pick Hustle.
Okay.
And I know it's a little bit of a throwback, but there's you had this like just the smallest amount of swing in your voice, and it just glued you to the track like so well. And I just kept being like, yeah, like everything that like Cruise Tunes had, that one track kind of really embodied really well. So I wanted to point that one out as like,
oh, thank you,
one that I would pick if I had to pick one. That was a bop.
I appreciate that.
But I'm curious to know, what is your favorite track to perform?
My favorite track probably has to be Hustle This, Hustle That. that's probably one of my favorite beats that I've hopped on, period. And just the production behind it, just my lyrics, I just feel like that was overall some of my best work, and I hold that one, real dearly to me, because it's just backstory on that. It was just a time where I was, kind of going through really like just reflecting on a lot of things, and just thinking about like, where I really want to take this, this music thing to, and yeah, just outside of all of that life stuff, that's what birthed that song in a way, and just the message behind it, just really getting to what I want to get to. If I put my mind to it, then I'm gonna get it and stuff. And then yeah, it was just a lot of stuff that kind of went into that song, and then I feel like it came out a lot better than what I thought it could have ever did. So yeah, I really enjoy that song a lot. So
oh, yeah. I love that. And again, just through hearing your answers, I really appreciate how like thoughtful you are about your approach to things. Like, especially like just even in your description of that, like it's cool to see how you kind of like translated your experience into like a really insightful way of telling that story for it.
For sure.
Yeah. And then I guess now I want to look at music that you're working on. So let's look at stuff that like you haven't put out yet. What are some of the characteristics, like the descriptive words that you use to describe new music? What can we like kind of look forward to stylistically?
Okay, yeah. I like to do this thing where the summertime-ish, when the weather is kind of warmer and nicer and stuff, I like to tend a little bit more to my West Coast roots, a little more bouncier, more vibier, if you will. Just having that West Coast feel. And then
so Cruise Tunes Part 2.
Yeah, for sure. Just like things like that, like even my past work with Cruise Tunes and things like that. Just tending to that, that crowd, if you will. Just going to my roots and just tending to that, because all in all, that's not like my main sound, but it's very much a part of my sound. And that's kind of my way of just having fun with it. And you can definitely feel the difference between like me in album mode and me in just like tape mode, if you will.
Yeah.
There's a lot, not to say I don't put the effort in behind, my tapes and stuff.
No, but there's a lot of different feel.
It's just a way different feel and level that I tap into when I get into that album mode and stuff. So yeah, the summertime, springtime-ish is kind of where you'll hear a little bit more of me just laid back with it, and just West Coast, vibes with it. And yeah, but coming up pretty soon, I'm gonna be tapping into a little bit of that too. Just the West Coast vibes. And then that's gonna come out. I'm planning on it maybe June-ish. So yeah, we'll see though. But there's definitely a lot coming for this summer as a whole, and all of that.
Oh yeah, well, we're definitely looking forward to that, and we'll have you re-mention that towards the end here. What's coming up? But for this next one, I want to take a step back. So we've dived all the way into music that's not even out yet, but I want to zoom all the way out, and I want to take a moment and look at music as a whole. What are some of the things about new music that's coming out? So like current stuff that you enjoy. What are some of the things about current music that you like that's happening right now?
I will say that I like how people are unapologetically them. They're having fun with it and stuff. And I know people have their opinions on the effort behind the music and stuff, but I just feel like it's, music is a way to express yourself. That's something that we all can agree on. And I think people just have their different ways of expressing themselves, whether you agree with it or not. There's some things that I don't agree with, but I can respect that, they're giving a message out, in musical format. Yeah. And, there's something for everybody. And I think that's the beauty of music. What works for you may not work for me. What works for somebody else may not work for somebody else. But there's always something out there for someone to gravitate towards. And I think right now, just the people who are coming out with the things, again, I may not agree with it, but they're doing it. They're doing it, and a lot of people aren't doing it, and they're doing something that a lot of people can't say that they're doing. So I definitely can say the personality of music is kind of where I like, you know, a lot of it and stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I love that. I mean, that nails it. I think that's a great way of describing it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, especially now we're seeing a lot more. I think we're seeing a lot more like melodic music, which I really like. I like that we're getting kind of into the point where people are making music that's meant to be like enjoyable. Like it's supposed to have like a little bit more energy to it. But I think that you said it really well. People are being themselves in their music, and I think the individuality of the sounds that are going to come from that are going to kind of be a new stem of sound, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes from it. Also, like you said, we're kind of getting into the warmer seasons, the more outside, like, you know, the windows are going to be down again soon as all this rain goes away. So like I think we're going to see a lot more of that in general, but it's nice to know that the music is kind of moving that direction. Yeah. Now, with that being said, we've got one last question to go in this middle portion. And this is probably the densest question in the interview. But, you know, we've talked a lot about, you know, your experiences with music, the actions, the reactions, and things like that. But when we get right down to the center, when it's just you and the music one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
Oh, I like that one. It definitely gives me something to look forward to. And I say that because, you know, this is my way of reaching people. You know, this is my way of, you know, giving a message out to people. This is a way for me to, you know, tell my story, because my story can potentially help somebody else, save somebody else. It could encourage somebody else. This is my way of, you know, telling myself that, you know, this music that I'm putting out is something that I can, if above anything else, if nobody else wants to listen to me, this is something that I can show my kids can show their kids, I can show younger relatives, I can, you know, hey, I did this and I felt passionate about this, so I'm gonna hold this dearly to me no matter what anybody else says. This is my art, this is my way of expressing, this is my diary, my journal, you know, and yeah, just I'm doing something that I enjoy, I have a passion in. I'm not letting nobody tell me, you know, anything about what I want to do. You know, you can't lose being yourself, you know, and you know, when you're genuine about who you are, you know, you're authentic, you know, you can't lose. Nobody can tell you how to be you besides you. So I definitely show pride in that.
Yeah. No, it sounds like it's like an accomplishment for you in a way to
absolutely
like express yourself. And I like that. I like that nobody can take away you from you. That's really powerful. Thank you for sharing.
Appreciate that.
But now let's go ahead. Let's move on to some hypothetical questions.
Okay.
And for these, sky's the limit. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well. But this first one's pretty straightforward. If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive. Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
I'll say Rick Ross, because
hell yeah,
Rick Ross is also one of my go-to artists. Grew up on him as well. Him and Nipsey, and then like right below that has always been Rick Ross. Just a message that they, you know, preach and portray and stuff. That's kind of where I get a lot of my inspiration from. And how to work with them, you know, same track as them, just you know, really just spitting whatever, because it's almost like a master and apprentice, if you will. That's kind of how I would look at it. It's like he's coming from the perspective of someone who's already there. I'm coming from the perspective of someone who's on their way there. So it's like it would be so dope to like see that on the same track, you know? So yeah, him.
Yeah, hell yeah. No, I see that for sure. I was always like, what would you want him to feature on it? Just give you a cool 16? No, it's like, no, that, I mean, that's a super solid answer. And also surprising one I don't get a lot. So that's a cool one. And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
My guy, Vari. I definitely, well, I personally know him, but we haven't got a chance to get on the same track yet, which I don't doubt that is, you know, it's gonna come soon. But he's someone that, you know, we have a lot of similarities with how we came up and you know, who we are and stuff. So shout out to him. But I definitely feel like we see eye to eye with a lot of things that are just going on in the town, just, you know, music wise and just our vibes and stuff. So we really tie in together real well. So
well, everybody, you know what to do. At them in the comments. Let's see if we can make that happen sooner.
Yeah.
And then for this next one, like I said before, sky's the limits, and it's pretty literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power, it was guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show, and it doesn't have to be a venue. It can be anywhere in the world, and it would work in this case. Where would you want to perform?
I'll probably say Madison Square Garden.
Hell yeah!
And I say that because it's right in the middle of New York. And there's just a lot of dope history behind it, sports, music, theater, whatever. But I just feel like it's a lot of dope history there, and it would just be dope to just rock out there for the one time.
No, definitely. Funny enough, that is one of the places I would love to do. I always say, like, if I could do the show anywhere, I would also love to do that at Madison Square Garden. That is just one of those places that, like, it's an undeniable spot.
Yeah,
like once you've been there, you have reached kind of this like peak. It's like it's like you like once you've reached that spot, there's only so many other venues in the world that even like match it in stature.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a solid answer.
Absolutely.
And then to wrap up the hypothetical questions, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, put out an album in 100 years, could have put out an album yesterday. Who would you want an album from?
Off tops, Nipsey. I'm somebody who's just like, man, I wish we can get some new Nipsey, you know, and not the pre-recorded, released after death Nipsey. I'm talking about like a live, experienced life Nipsey, and just seeing how he would react to like the state of like what's going on with hip hop and stuff, and I'm just that kid that just wants more of it, but knows that in the reality of it all, you know, it's probably not gonna happen just because of the circumstances and stuff. So
You know, I honestly, and I wish I had said this more on the last episode where they brought him up. Like, I think his stance on today's climate, both like socially, politically, musically, like in all of the stances, I think that he would really be able to speak on a lot of things and just kind of bring clarity, because that was just always something he kind of did. He was really he was such a pivotal figurehead, and like was only so many years away from reaching that next level. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, like plenty of other artists, unfortunately, have kind of reached that point where they were like just moments away from reaching that like upper echelon. So he's definitely right up there with it. But yeah, I would love one more album from him as well.
Absolutely.
But that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up.
For sure.
What can we look forward to between, let's say, now and November?
Okay, yeah, more music, you know, obviously. Working on some collaborations, local and outside of the town. Okay. More content, music videos, things like this, just showing my face. And yeah, just continuing to just work. Just work. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to all of that.
Yes, sir.
This next one, go ahead and look straight at the camera and tell everybody how they can find you.
You can find me on Apple Music or all streaming platforms at Aaron Westside. Twitter, Aaron TWO. You can also find me. You can just also type in Aaron Westside as well on Twitter. You'll find me there. You know, one of a kind. You can find me as well on Instagram at Aaron Westside as well. And yeah.
Oh yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you want to put on while you're on here?
Yeah, shout out the Winner Circle, you know, C. Louis, you know, T. Raj, everybody over there. Yeah, just shout out the town, just period. I'm gonna just always show love to the town. So I appreciate y'all, appreciate the support. And yeah.
Oh yeah. All right, now we've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm gonna steal the camera for just a second.
For sure.
As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary. Make sure to click the link below and go check them out. I guarantee you're gonna like it. Make sure to use code JAMBOX for 20% off and a free gift. And with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation. But what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? So it's a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think everybody should know.
As far as like mines, or
just all music in general. Like, go into the cuts for this one.
Oh, I'm gonna go with mines. Peep the Story Begins.
Okay.
I feel like that kind of is a coming out party for me, if you will, and just displaying like what I'm here to do, what I'm here to say, what I'm here to preach. And it's also something that you can go back to and compare to where I'm at now and see how far I've came as a person, as an artist, as a sound. So there's a lot I feel like you can take from that.
Oh yeah. Well, definitely y'all go check that out, as well as all of the rest of his music, because it's super solid.
Appreciate that, man.
With that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here. So it's a dope opportunity for sure.
Yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Aaron Westside.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap. This is not a podcast. This is a show. Keep jamming.